which is all about what's called principal parts. You have been using principal parts the whole semester, you just didn't know it. In Latin, there are 4 principal parts. There's the present, there's the infinitive, there's the perfect, and then there is the passive, which is called the supine. Okay? Present indicative is what we've been using, okay, so far. It's used to make the present tense system. It's used to find the stem for the present, the imperfect, and the future. Remember, the present, the imperfect, and the future make up the present tense system, right? The infinitive is an unconjugated form. It's used to tell us what conjugation the verb is. And essentially what this means is what letter goes before the endings. So far up to this point, what letter has gone before our endings? A, right? In Latin too, we're going to get verbs that are of the second conjugation, and their infinitive will tell us that we put e's before the endings. So far when we've listed verbs, let's take laudo, laudare, right? Laudo is your first principal part. Laudare is your second principal part. This tells you the stem for the present tense system, which is the present, the imperfect, and the future, right? That makes up the present tense system. Laudare is an infinitive, A-R-E, to praise, right? It's unconjugated. And this A, in the A-R-E, that A tells you to put an A before your endings. Okay, the A shows that this is a first conjugation verb. So these are the 2 that we've used already. Okay, you just didn't know necessarily that they were called first principal part and second principal part. In our next chapter, we are going to be learning how to conjugate in the perfect tense. The perfect tense is the past tense. Okay, we already know a little bit how to speak in the past, right? Using the imperfect. I was walking. You were studying. The perfect tense allows us to say, I studied. I walked. Okay, I spoke, I drank, I ate. That ed, that simple past tense. So in order to conjugate in the perfect tense, we need to know our third principal part, which is the perfect indicative. And this is used to make the perfect tense system. This is used to make the perfect tense system, which is made up of the perfect. This is what we're going to learn in chapter 11. And then the pluperfect, and the future perfect. The pluperfect and the future perfect we'll learn in chapter 12. So this third principal part is crucial for the next two chapters. What does it look like? Lao, da, we. How is that VI at the end? There's your stem. So it gives you the stem to the perfect tense system. So while we are not using this third one yet, in the next two chapters, that's all you're going to use. So that one's really important. The fourth principal part we don't use until the end of Latin 2. So just file it away. It's the passive, the supine, so that's used to speak in the passive voice. To say things like, I have been called, in which the subject is not doing the action but receiving the action. And again, we're not going to learn this until Latin 2. So just file this away. And what does that look like? Lao, da, tu. So this gives us the stem that we will use for the passive voice. But file it away, it's not until Latin 2. Yep, perfect. So you're gonna notice when you look at your vocab that there's a pattern of O, are, awi, atum. O, are, awi, atum. So on your vocabulary, you're gonna see ambulo, ambulare, ambulawi, ambulatum, to walk. Ambulance or amble means to walk. Clamo, clamare, clamawi, clamatum. O, are, awi, atum. Shout, think clamor. Have you ever heard of somebody say, I'm gonna stop clamoring around, making noise? Confirmo, confirmare, confirmawi, confirmatum. To confirm, to strengthen, to declare, like a confirmation. Demonstro, demonstrare, demonstravi, demonstratum. To show, right? Think demonstration. Libero, liberawi. Libero, liberare, liberawi, liberatum. Think liberate, free. Okay, lots of connections to our English vocabulary that will help us to remember these vocab words. Opugno, opugnare, opugnawi, opugnatum. To attack. Think of pugno is to fight. Opugno is even more than fight, you're attacking. Serwo, serware, serwawi, serwatum. This is a little tricky. You want to say serve, but it's really guard, keep, or save. Think of conserve. Think of the word conserve, right? You're conserving something and it has that serve in it. Sto, stare, steti, statum. Look, I'm going to put a star there. This one does not follow the pattern. O, are, awi. O, are. This should be down here. O, are. It doesn't have an awi. So steti is irregular. And I know in your warm-up, it asks that. What are the irregular ones? That's an irregular. Tempto, temptare, temptawi, temptatum. Think attempt, right? Tempt, attempt. But do you see this O, Are, Awi, Atum pattern? So there are a few irregulars that don't follow that pattern, like we just said. And that's sto, stare, steti, statum, do, dare, dedi, deditum. And then the V verb is always weird. Sum, esse, fui, futurum. Okay. Stand, do, and then to be. This sum, esse, fui, futurum will work a lot more with in the next chapter. So sto, stare, steti is weird. Do, dare, dedi. They are just not following the pattern of O, Are, Awi, Atum. Okay, we definitely are going to want to put these principal parts into Quizlet. Your focus on this vocab is the third principal part, because that's what we're going to use in chapters 11 and 12 in your next two chapters. So when you're putting these into Quizlet, make sure you're not just writing sto, stare, steti. If you don't want to put the last one, that's okay, if that's getting a little overwhelming. Okay, there's one other piece to this chapter, and it's not necessarily difficult, but it's going to mess with your mind a little bit. Okay, so take a deep breath. I'll post these notes to Schoology. And then the second piece to this chapter is answering and asking questions. So we know in Latin, when we are talking about questions, there's no word for yes or no, right? If you want to say yes, you just restate the question. If you want to say no, you put known and then you restate the question, right? So if I said spectant ne, while I do the girls watch, you could say spectant or known spectant. Yes or no. Just simple yes or no questions. Remembering that the NE is just the question mark. We have interrogative words that also help us, right? That help us to form questions like quid, ubi. Have you ever heard of a rhetorical question? What's a rhetorical question? Yeah, like if it was 70 and sunny right now and I said, it is a beautiful day out today, isn't it? I already think it is. I'm assuming you think it is. I'm just essentially making conversation, right? I'm not really asking you your opinion. This is a little tricky, isn't it? I think you're gonna think it's tricky. I think it's tricky. We're in agreement. I'm just kind of making conversation. It's a rhetorical question. I am not really asking for your opinion. It's one of those questions you just smile and nod, right? If it was really cold this morning, I said, oh, it's cold out, isn't it? Yeah. You just smile and nod, right? Like nobody's really asking for your opinion. You're not really asked to give more information. Okay. So when you translate, you need to be able to pick out if there's a question being asked that's just a rhetorical question. Okay. If a question starts with noom, you want a no answer. If a question starts with known, you want a yes answer. On page 58A, what you're going to do, the entire exercise essentially is answering questions. So we're going to do the first 3 together. One that has noom, one that has known, and one that doesn't use either. And I think that will help make this make sense. So question number 1. Known, nay. Remember the NE just as a question. No, nay. Legatai. Opidum. O pug na bunt. Gladius. Okay. If there is a known here, known in the question, what kind of an answer do you want? A yes answer. It's almost the opposite. If there's a no, and if there's a negative word in the question, you want a positive answer. Okay, so then we just need to restate. Let's see what this sentence is even asking. O pugna bunt, will they attack? Who's the they? Will the lieutenants attack? What's receiving the attacking? Accusative case, the town. Gladius with swords. You could, I guess, say 4 swords also. Do you see how you really have to translate the sentence before you're going to know how to answer it? This is very, very challenging. So how would you answer that? Will the lieutenants attack the town with swords? We already know we want to say yes, so we just have to restate, right? So legatai, opidum, you're essentially just rewriting it. Opugna bunt, gladius. And I know there's no word cum with gladius, but you can infer that because it's in ablative case. So this is going to be your answer. Known in the question, yes in the answer. Okay, let's look at a noom. The next question is noom. We ad Germaniam Longai erant. Okay. Noom in the question means a known in the answer, right? Means a no answer. Noom in the question means no in the answer, so we'd start with known, because that's how we say no, right? And then before we can really restate, let's see if we can see what this says. Ad Germanium towards Germany. So there were what? Long roads. Yeah, towards Germany. I know that I can translate that much more quickly than you can. Okay, so that's okay if you can't quite. So you want to say no. There were not long roads towards Germany. So known and then restate. We at Ermanium Longi errant. So we have known beginning that answer because we had noom in the question. And then if you look at number 3, 3 does not have known or noom, so we're just treating it like a normal question. Okay, that's why I wanted to do it up to 3. So no stri, nay. Remember the NE is just a question, don't let that throw you. In Africa, again, we're declining that because it's a proper noun, all nouns get declined. In Africa, errant, multi. Okay, so we know in Africa goes together, errant, they were, or there were there were many of our
Good.
men. Many of our men were in Africa. And I'm inserting the word men because of the multi. Because it has a masculine ending. So were many of our men in Africa? I guess you can choose. You could put known if you wanted to. You could just restate. You choose if it's a yes or a no. They don't tell you. They don't prompt you to do either one of those. Okay, let's just keep going and do 4 and 5 together also, because I think this is really good practice for you, and I think it's pretty difficult. So 4 is known, nay, dei, errant, amici, bonorum. Okay, the known in the question tells us that we need to have a yes answer. The NE is just the question itself. Okay. So the gods will be friends. Look, there's nothing that matches this ending, bonorum. What happens when you have an adjective and you don't have a noun that agrees with it? You insert man, woman, or things, right? So this is going to be of good men, right? Because the O-R-U-M. So the gods will be friends of good men. Okay, and you just want to say yes, so you just have to restate it, right? So you're just literally writing the question, dei, errant, amici, bonorum. So you're just restating it. And then our last one starts with noom, so we know in the answer we have to start with known. Let's see what it's asking. Ambulabatis, eri, in Silwa, long A. So in the forest, that goes together. Here you remember hereditary yesterday. So batis, you look on your ending sheet. You all were walking in the forest yesterday. And it's a question, so were you all walking in the forest yesterday? You all were walking in the forest. You all weren't walking in the forest. You all weren't walking in the forest, right? Do you see how I'm prompting you to say no? You all weren't walking in the forest, right? No, we weren't. Do you see how I had to change the verb? You don't always have to. If I say, they weren't walking in the forest, right? No, they weren't. But if you're going to have it in first or second person, you're going to have to change the verb. Because I wouldn't say, you all weren't walking in the forest, right? And you'd say, no, you all weren't. No, you'd say, no, we weren't. So you do have to change the verb on that one a little bit. That really, you really have to know what you're doing to pick that up. Okay, so that is A. We're going to continue on, and we are going to do B. And that's all. That's good. Just stop it.